So in this lecture, only the second in the Excel series, I'm going to do one of the most complex spreadsheets that I work with. I love this spreadsheet. I use it to track Udemy course time. I call it the Udemy Course Timetable. So I'm going to do an example of this. I'm going to show you one that I'm actually using for a course that I'm working on or was working on or plan to work on. I always create these things early in the development phase in a course and use it to track how I'm doing on the course and when things are going to be finished. So let's jump over to Excel and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Here I am in Excel looking at the main spreadsheet. Isn't this cool? So what it does is it says for each section in a Udemy course, how many lectures do I have? How many textual articles do I have? Now this is actually finished over here. This is how many I have. This white area is the only area that I fill in. The rest of these areas get filled in automatically by the spreadsheet, which is kind of cool because it gives you a lot of data. So I say, okay, the introduction has 2 lectures, no articles. Then in part 1, we have 2 lectures, no articles. Here we have 1 article, and you can see that I set up how many articles we have. Now what happens is as I track my completion of things, which I do in the data tab. Notice the 2 tabs down here at the bottom. I'm on the report tab, so I'm seeing the results of the report. Here's where I enter the data. So I give it a section, and this section matches against the report. So see here, introduction is the section, and it says it has 2 lectures. How does it know it has 2 lectures? That's because the data spreadsheet has 2 introduction records in it. And it even knows how long they are. And it gives you a daily total. And it tells you how much is the total for everything. Now I'm going to change this to today's date. 12/18/2023. So that it shows that this project is starting today instead of several months ago because I haven't been working on it. Now, if I go back over to the report, it keeps track of how many days it's been since the start date. So this date right here is really significant. And what it says down here at the bottom is that it's only been 0.64 days since that date started. Here's the average number of minutes per day that I'm recording. Here's the projected days that it's going to take to finish. Here's the number of days left, and here's the projected finish date. So it actually projects all of these things for you. It tells me that I have 5 lectures remaining, 2 articles for a total of 7, and that I have 29 minutes and 48 seconds left, that the total course will be 41 minutes and 43 seconds long, that I'm now 28.57% of the way through the course. So it tells you all of this stuff. Now, to get into how it does this is really quite a challenge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you this spreadsheet for download, this exact spreadsheet for a course. And I'm going to show you how to modify it for a course that you're doing. So let's say instead of part 1 and part 2, I have part 1 and part 2 up here. So I take this row, I copy it, I go to just below, and I say insert copied cells. Then I double click here, and maybe I call this part 2. We come down here and we call this part 3. And I can come in here and then I modify how many lectures are in that section and how many articles are in that section. And then it keeps track by the fact that if I record a topic with 0 time, it interprets that as an article. That's a written textual article. It's a 0-length video, if you want to view it that way. So that's the way this spreadsheet works. And go ahead and download it from the description for this lecture, and go ahead and modify it. You can add. I can take this and I can delete this row. I can undo what I just did. I can select this. I can copy it. I can insert it here. It's easier to insert a row because you don't want to type all this stuff in. So copy a row and then insert it. And then this would be 4. So here's a project that's only going to have an article in it. Yeah, well, it actually has a lecture. Interesting. I thought projects would have only articles. But anyway, so that's the way the spreadsheet works. Download it, go ahead and play with it, modify it to your needs. Look at every cell. This is really important to do. Click on every cell and then see what it says up here in the formula and see if you can interpret the formula. You can see why I'm not explaining every cell in the spreadsheet, because the formulas get really complicated. Let's look at one formula. This says if count the row if, and there's going to be multiple conditions. First, the contents of column A in the data tab needs to match A2 or introduction. So this is how we get that match between the section name here and the section name specified in the data section by referring to data exclamation point and then the column that we want. So we want that to match introduction. So every time that it matches introduction, then we say, okay, does data D, is it greater than 0? If it's greater than 0, it's a video or a lecture. If it's less than 0, then it's going to be, or if it's 0, actually, it's going to be an article. So you can see here, it says instead of less than 0, it says 0. So if it's equal to 0 length, it's going to be an article. So we can count it as an article. And then this just sums the articles and the lectures. Total time totals up the time column. And it just keeps going like this. So click on every one of the cells, look at the cell formula, and see if you can figure out what it's doing. So let's say, here we go. Let's do this cell. Time is sum if. Now, one of the neat things that happens is if you click on the formula, it shows you the format of the formula right down below it. So I can see that it's sum if range. Once again, I'm referring to the data tab, column A. So if it's the section name, back over here, matches introduction, then do a sum of the time column, right? Column D in data, which would be the length of the course in minutes and seconds. So that's what it's doing. It's saying if the type of record in data is introduction, then go ahead and sum up the total length of all of the data, all of the lectures, and tell me what they are here. There are, whoa. Did I do something here? I did, there we go. And I just undid it. So there are 11 minutes and 55 seconds worth of lectures. Go through every cell in this spreadsheet until you understand it. These are can be even wilder. Now means the current date and time. So what it's doing is it's taking data, bang, C2. This one specifically right here It's taking that first date, the date that starts all my recording, and it's subtracting it from now to tell how many days it's been since this project had started. So you can go through and you can actually figure out how each of these cells is working.